I got remarried to a 23-year-old woman. You, a 30-year-old, get lost.
The woman burst into laughter and looked at me, saying, "Poor thing." That's when I saw the woman's face for the first time. She's definitely a young woman. Rather than beautiful, the word cute fits her description better. She still has a somewhat innocent impression.
Her name is Coney. She works for one of our business partners, and she's pregnant with my child.
I couldn't believe my ears at Mark's words. Pregnant. It's only been 2 weeks since our divorce, and he's already remarried, and the woman is pregnant. The math just doesn't add up. Did you have a relationship with her even before our divorce? In response to my question, Mark smirked and answered,
Who knows? Even if I did, there's no proof, right?
Certainly, there's a possibility that Mark is lying just to upset me. Without evidence, you won't be able to get any consolation money. But still, this is too much. My name is Sabrina. I'm a 30-year-old housewife. I quit my job, which I had been working at until I got married to Mark, my senior at work. Mark, who loves children, had been eagerly awaiting the birth of our child.
When the baby is born, I want to do a lot of things. Play together, take them to the zoo and amusement parks.
Yes, I want to create lots of memories with our family. We discussed various things about life after the baby was born and enjoyed our conversations. However, the baby never came to us. Around 1 year after our marriage, Mark looked lonely and said with a smile, "Maybe our baby is just laid back. In that case, we'll shower them with love when they finally arrive." He smiled at me. Those words gently comforted me, as I was anxious about why I couldn't get pregnant. That's right. Thank you, Mark. Even after 2 years, there was no sign of me getting pregnant. Mark looked puzzled and said, "Why can't it happen? They say it's all about timing," as he touched my belly. I don't know either, since I have no experience.
Yeah, you're right.
After mumbling those words, Mark smiled at me and said, "Well, one day they'll definitely come to us." And 3 years after our marriage, Mark began to openly show his discomfort towards me since I couldn't get pregnant.
Hey, why aren't you getting pregnant?
Why do you ask that? That's something I'd like to know myself. It's not just you. I've been longing for a baby too.
Even if you say that, everyone around me is having babies left and right. It's strange that we're the only ones who can't have a child.
Intentionally letting out a deep sigh, Mark looked at me with a sidelong glance, and I couldn't help but feel irritated. Still, while suppressing those feelings, I tried to maintain my usual attitude and spoke to Mark. "Well, then, have you ever thought about seriously considering infertility treatment together?" In response to those words, Mark widened his eyes and looked straight at me. His expression made me instinctively tense up.
Infertility? Are you trying to say there's something wrong with me?
I'm not saying that, but pregnancy is something that involves both husband and wife, so maybe we could find out the cause if we both undergo various tests. Intentionally sighing loudly, Mark frowned dramatically.
Infertility is always blamed on women, isn't it? Even if there's something wrong with you, why should I get tested?
I felt like my entire body went cold. What was he saying? The cause of infertility varies from couple to couple.
There's a saying that infertility is always the woman's fault, just like the term barren woman implies. I thought we could build a happy family as soon as we got married, but it turned out to be a miscalculation. Our marriage was a failure.
Mark's words spilled out one after another, piercing my heart. Even I had been longing for a child for years. Seeing that Mark was determined to blame me without considering my feelings for him began to cool off. In order not to reveal my current emotions, I addressed Mark. "Hey, let's stop this conversation for today. It's not a topic we should discuss emotionally. Let's both cool our heads." If we could calmly talk, Mark might also speak rationally. While hoping for that, I gazed at Mark's face.
In that case, don't bring up such topics in the first place. It's unpleasant.
He said that and walked out of the living room with heavy footsteps. I wondered if he would listen to me properly with that attitude. Anxiety was growing inside me, and I became increasingly apprehensive. I felt uneasy about talking to Mark, who would only vent his emotions without considering my feelings. For weeks after our argument about children, Mark and I hardly had any conversations. Even though I thought I should do something, it was clear that Mark would become moody whenever I mentioned children or infertility tests. I felt reluctant to have to talk to Mark while trying to please him. But if we continue like this, nothing will change. Thinking that, I made up my mind to at least get tested at the hospital. I researched a well-reputed hospital in the neighborhood that also offered male infertility treatment and made an appointment. Regardless of the results, I knew I had to take action to change the current situation. At that time, I hoped for any improvement in our future together. Appointment day at the hospital. Feeling a bit nervous, I headed to the hospital. I entered the examination room after my name was called, and then there was a female doctor sitting with a friendly smile, who seemed to be in her early 40s. Her kind expression eased my nervousness. The doctor asked, "Are you here alone today?" She didn't say anything more, but the meaning behind those words was simple. "Is your husband not coming for the tests?" It seemed like those words came out because she was trying to thoroughly examine the cause of infertility. "We've been talking about it, but..." I also replied somewhat hesitantly. The doctor seemed to have understood without further explanation and simply said, "I see."
I understand you must be anxious, but let's examine together.
She also cared about my feelings, and I felt she was a trustworthy doctor. After that day's examination, the doctor spoke to me.
The results of the tests may take 1 to 2 months to come in. You'll need to come in for further appointments, and it would be helpful if your husband could join you for the tests on a convenient day.
She probably told this to all patients, but for me, it was a daunting task. If only Mark would listen to me even a bit, I wouldn't feel so burdened. "Yes, I'll talk to my husband about it," I replied, trying to maintain a natural smile in front of the doctor. That night, I decided to tell Mark that I had gone to the hospital alone for the infertility tests. I went to the hospital today for infertility tests. The doctor was really kind and understanding. Mark glanced at me with a piercing look and replied with a sigh.
Is that so? Did they say it's your fault?
"They said the test results will take 1 to 2 months to come in. We won't know the cause in just one day." Mark sighed again with a weary expression. "The doctor suggested that it would be convenient if you could come along whenever it suits you. It's not just my opinion. Hey, would you consider getting tested together at the hospital?" A loud sound echoed in the room as the glass was slammed onto the table.
Did you think you could fool me by saying it's the hospital's or the doctor's suggestion? You're making up such lies because you want to drag me to the hospital against my will, aren't you? Well, I'll never undergo any tests, that's for sure.
Seems like he's determined to paint me as the villain no matter what. He's convinced that I'm lying and refuses to even consider the possibility of infertility on his part. This time, I let out a sigh. Mark reacted as if he was saying that I'm not in a position to sigh. "In that case, I guess we might have to give up on having children." Mark's eyes widened, either out of frustration or surprise at my unexpected response. "Do you plan to tell our parents that they won't have any grandchildren? They might be disappointed, but if we don't know the reason, we can't have children anyway, can we?"
Because you're insisting that it's my fault. If we see the test results, it should prove that it's not my fault.
"I already understand that you're blaming me. But what if it turns out that there's no issue with me? You wouldn't go for tests on your own, right?"
Heck.
For the first time, Mark was at a loss for words. His pride was getting in the way. Going to the hospital alone for infertility tests was something he would never consider. "Then it's better if you accompany me when I go for the tests, isn't it?" There was a loud thud as Mark slammed his glass onto the table. I didn't utter a word. After some time had passed, Mark finally muttered.
Well, I guess I'll go just once.
It was a significant step for us as a couple. After we went for the tests together, Mark became quite reserved at home. It seemed like his pride had been deeply hurt. I thought he shouldn't be so concerned about his pride when we were trying to find out if we could have children or not, but I kept that thought to myself. Arguing about it would only make things worse. I refrained from saying unnecessary things, and it seemed to irritate Mark even more. He started going out alone on weekends, had more sudden overtime work, and seemed to have more business dinners, making him less present at home. I was no longer feeling the urge to improve this chilly atmosphere. I wondered if having a child under these circumstances would really help repair our relationship. I questioned why I needed to go through infertility treatments. Did I really need to continue this marriage with Mark? I was growing unsure about what I truly wanted and why I was taking these actions. 2 months passed since the initial tests. I came back to the hospital alone to hear the test results. I was relieved that the doctor didn't bring up the subject of Mark not coming along.
Here are the test results for Sabrina and Mark.
The doctor handed me some documents. Upon seeing the results, I held my breath. I need to have a proper conversation with Mark. As I stared at the results, I made up my mind. That evening, surprisingly, Mark came home without working overtime. I thought it was a good opportunity to discuss the test results, so I looked at Mark. Then, Mark handed me something.
I want a divorce.
When I looked at what he handed me, it was a divorce certificate. Wait a minute, what do you mean?
What do you mean? You know.
While taking off his suit, Mark spoke dispassionately with his back turned to me.
There's no point in continuing our marriage with someone who can't have children.
Surprisingly, I felt remarkably calm. It's true that I had been feeling uneasy about living with Mark. Still, somewhere deep down, I had hoped to solve our problems and live together with mutual understanding. That faint hope crumbled at that moment. Mark, won't you regret getting a divorce? Mark smirked at me, as if mocking me.
I'd regret continuing to live with you more.
It's impossible anymore. I accepted the divorce certificate. Understood.
It's good that you understand quickly. Make sure to leave the house as soon as possible.
Feeling relieved, Mark spat out these words and left the living room. The next day, we quickly filled out the divorce papers, and our divorce was finalized. With just a piece of paper, it felt surprisingly anticlimactic. When I told my parents about the divorce, they told me to come back home. Fortunately, my parents' place wasn't far, so I quickly returned home with just the bare essentials. The rest of my belongings could be sorted out while Mark was at work. As I spent time alone, memories of the early days of marriage with Mark and the recent painful emotions swirled around in my mind, making me feel as if my whole body was in turmoil. I need to go outside and get some fresh air. I decided to take a walk to the nearby park without unpacking my things, as I wanted to feel refreshed. It being the weekend, the park was crowded with families. For me now, seeing children playing happily was a bit painful. Could there have been a future where I, Mark, and our children played together with smiles? As I sat on a bench, lost in thought about such things, someone called out to me.
Sabrina, what are you doing here?
It was Mark, the person I least wanted to see right now. As I turned my gaze in that direction, I noticed a woman standing beside Mark. Her arm was wrapped around Mark's. What do you want?
Nothing special. I just saw my miserable ex-wife here, so I thought I'd share some of my happiness with her.
What do you mean? In response to my question, Mark and the woman looked at each other and laughed.
I remarried a 23-year-old girl. There's no room for a 30-year-old hag like you.
The woman burst into laughter and, looking at me, said, "How pathetic." That's when I first saw the woman's face. She's definitely a young woman. The expression cute fits her better than beautiful. There's still a somewhat innocent impression about her.
She's Coney, and she works for a client company. She's pregnant with my child.
I couldn't believe my ears at Mark's words. Pregnant. It's only been 2 weeks since our divorce, and he's already remarried, and the other woman is pregnant. No matter how you look at it, the math doesn't add up. Did you have a relationship with her before we got divorced? In response to my question, Mark answered with a smirk, lifting the corner of his mouth. I disliked this expression on Mark's face.
I wonder, well, even if that were the case, there's no evidence, right?
Certainly, there's a possibility that Mark is lying just to make me uncomfortable. Without evidence, I wouldn't be able to claim any alimony. But that doesn't make this behavior any less despicable. I looked at the woman's face again. Somewhere, I felt like I'd seen her before. As I stared at her face, the woman made an unpleasant expression. When I saw that expression, I remembered who the woman was. And I couldn't help but burst into laughter.
What's so funny all of a sudden?
Well, you married that person, you poor thing. Suddenly, everything seemed foolish, and I stood up from the bench. Please be happy, I said to the two of them, then turned my back on them and headed home. On the way back from the park, my smartphone's ringtone played. This screen displayed a familiar name. Hello, Melissa. Long time no see. Melissa is my former boss. Melissa, Mark, and I were in the same department, working together as a team. We lost touch when I left the company, but she's a capable and cool woman at work, and many employees admired her. Talking to Melissa after a long time made me feel brighter.
Sabrina, long time no see. I wanted to talk to you, Sabrina, so I decided to get in touch.
I was delighted that Melissa, who is usually busy, had called me because she wanted to talk. I see. I'm also happy to be able to talk with you, Melissa.
Me too. How have you been lately? Are you doing well?
I wanted to say that I'm doing well, but the words wouldn't come out smoothly. I thought I wanted her to listen to the various emotions I had been holding inside for so long. Well, actually, there have been various things, and I got divorced. I regretted saying it a little later, but there was no turning back now. The few seconds of silence felt unnaturally long.
Is that so? Since I transferred to a different department, I haven't had a chance to see Mark anymore. But if you want to talk, I'm here.
Melissa's kind words, as always, made my nose tingle with pain. Trying to keep my voice from trembling as much as possible, I talked about the state of our marriage over the past few years and our struggles with infertility. I knew that Melissa wasn't the type to spread rumors carelessly.
I see, that must have been tough. Do you have plans to work?
I'm thinking about working, but I haven't figured out the details yet. Melissa started to say something but swallowed her words for a moment.
Well, you know, Sabrina, if you're okay with it, both my boss and I want you to come back to work.
Unexpected words surprised me. I was simply delighted that they still thought I was needed even though it had been many years since I left the company. At the same time, I understood the reason Melissa had stumbled over her words for a moment. Thank you, but even though it's a different department, working in the same place as Mark.
Yay, I understand. I don't intend to force it on you. It's just that I and the company wanted to convey our feelings.
No, I'm really happy that you feel that way. Thank you. I felt Melissa's smile as she chuckled. And she continued with a stronger tone.
But I have to say, I'm really disappointed in Mark. It's unforgivable to put you through so much, Sabrina.
I have various thoughts, but now I feel a strong sense of resignation. I think I also had the feeling that I couldn't be with Mark any longer. But Melissa, there's something I'd like to ask you.
What is it?
I asked Melissa about the woman who had been with Mark earlier. And as I listened to Melissa's story, my unease turned into certainty. And now all emotions I had never felt before began to well up. I wanted to get revenge on Mark. Feeling somewhat relieved after sharing a story I couldn't tell anyone, I headed home with a light step. 1 month after the phone call with Melissa, I received another call from Melissa.
I want to talk about Mark. I think it will be helpful to Sabrina.
Melissa's voice in that moment sounded sincere. If possible, I'd like to talk with Mark present. Will he be at home on a day off? Of course, I'll come along, so let's go together. I wondered what she meant by let's go together, but I knew Melissa wouldn't say meaningless things. I tried to ask about the details, but she wouldn't budge, so I accepted Melissa's proposal. I wasn't particularly looking forward to facing Mark again after so long, but I decided to trust Melissa. The upcoming weekend felt a bit daunting. The weekend arrived, and when I went to Mark's and my former home with Melissa, she looked at me and asked, "Are you ready?" I nodded, and Melissa pressed the intercom. Without waiting for a response from the intercom, the front door suddenly swung open. Out walked the woman I had seen with Mark that day, named Coney. She looked at us with a puzzled expression.
I'm Melissa from Mark's workplace. Is Mark here?
The woman nodded politely and then went back inside the house. After a while, Mark and Coney arrived at the front door together.
Melissa, what's going on? Why did you come all the way here on your day off?
I have something important to discuss. It's about you and this woman. Coney.
Coney, when called by Melissa, had a surprised expression on her face. It must have been strange for her that her name was known to Melissa even though she hadn't introduced herself. Mark, with a furrowed brow, led us into the house. We were led to the living room and sat facing the dining table. Melissa spoke up.
Coney, you seemed surprised that I knew your name even though you didn't introduce yourself, but I've known you from before.
Melissa took documents out of an envelope she had brought and slammed them in front of Mark and Coney.
If I say David's wife, does that ring a bell?
The moment she heard that, Coney's face drained of color.
What on earth are these documents?
It's a detective's investigation report. Coney, you had an affair with my husband in the past.
Mark had his eyes wide open, looking at Melissa, and then back at Coney.
What? What do you mean, Coney?
Coney remained silent, her head still lowered. In her place, Melissa began to explain.
When she was a university student, this girl had an affair with my husband, who was her boss at her part-time job.
Mark wore an expression of disbelief and kept looking at Melissa.
Even at that time, I gathered evidence and reported the truth to her and her parents. Her parents said, she's an adult. Even though she's a student, she should take responsibility. So they didn't hesitate to demand compensation. I had no qualms about it.
Melissa maintained her composure, but there was a hint of authority in her voice. Coney continued to hang her head, and Mark was staring blankly into space.
But despite that, Coney disappeared without paying the compensation, and I was in trouble. So I hired a detective to find her whereabouts, and by chance, we were able to capture evidence of her affair with Mark.
Mark suddenly snapped back to reality and turned his gaze towards me. I mimicked Mark's condescending smile.
You've been found out. Evidence of your affair.
Indeed. The reason I recognized Coney's face from the day we met at the park was because I had seen her picture when Melissa told me about her husband's affair. Normally, she wouldn't share personal family matters with unrelated people. But Melissa was emotionally distraught at the time, and perhaps she couldn't be as considerate as usual. I had only seen the photo once, so my memory was somewhat hazy, but I confirmed it with Melissa, and it was clear that it was the same person. To think that she had another extramarital affair even after being accused of infidelity and ordered to pay compensation. I was genuinely shocked when I realized the truth. When I saw Coney and Mark, who were living in their own little world, I couldn't help but show a disdainful smile. Mark seemed to lose all his strength, and Coney continued to cry, avoiding reality.
You had secret meetings in a hotel while Mark was married to Sabrina, which is undeniable proof of your affair. Coney, I will demand compensation not only from me but also from Sabrina, so be prepared. We know where you work, so there's no escaping this.
Coney remained silent until the end. She just continued crying, seemingly avoiding facing the harsh reality.
Mark, you too. My husband and I are still in a marriage, but you two are divorced. I'll give this evidence to Sabrina as well to use as proof of your affair. Be prepared to pay compensation while regretting your past foolishness.
With those words, Melissa stood up. I followed her lead, leaving Mark and Coney behind, and left the house. After that, we demanded compensation from Mark and Coney through a lawyer. Due to their inability to make a lump sum payment, we reluctantly agreed to receive it in installments. One day, when I returned from shopping, I saw Mark loitering in front of my parents' house. He seemed a bit thinner, or so it appeared. When Mark spotted me, he quickly brightened up and ran towards me.
Sabrina, it's good to see you.
Don't come barging into my parents' house like this, Mark. I'll call the police.
Please, can't you wait for the alimony payment?
Mark made selfish demands without even listening to my side of the story.
Coney's spending is out of control. I can't manage on my own with just my income. Our child will be born soon, and we can't continue like this.
Why do I have to help you? It's your own fault. You need to take responsibility.
Do you really not care what happens to me?
Who does he think he is to say something like that? He hurt me so much, and now he genuinely believes I'll help him when he's in trouble. I couldn't care less about you two. Don't ever come near my parents' house again. Mark dropped to his knees, looking defeated. In the past, I might have extended a helping hand when I saw Mark in such a vulnerable state. However, considering his past actions, I couldn't muster any forgiveness.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to tell you something important.
Mark looked up at me upon hearing my words. His face filled with faint hope that I might help him, but I had no intention of doing that. It's about the results of the infertility test. It turns out the problem was you.
Huh?
Mark wore a stunned expression, quite different from what he had anticipated. I had no issues at all, but the test results showed that you have difficulty with natural conception. Oh my, so I wonder whose child Coney is pregnant with now. Mark's face turned pale, and he remained in a state of shock. Well then, goodbye. If I see you again, I'll really call the police. With that said, I opened the front door of my house. Later, according to what Melissa told me, it turned out that Mark and Coney's divorce had become a topic of discussion within the company, and they both resigned. In the end, it was revealed that the child Coney was pregnant with wasn't Mark's, which made Mark furious and led to their divorce. Since Coney had simultaneous relationships with multiple people, the identity of the father remains unknown. Unable to raise the child on her own, she humbled herself and returned to her parents' home to raise the child. Her parents contacted Melissa about it. I felt anger towards Coney's irresponsibility, but the child was innocent. I could only hope the child would grow up to be an honest person. Furthermore, I received apologies from my in-laws, who reported that they had severed ties with Mark. They had also advised relatives not to lend him money. Although there was still alimony to be paid, Mark didn't have anyone to rely on, so he was managing by working multiple part-time and temporary jobs to make ends meet. For now, he was consistently making his monthly payments, so I hoped he would reflect on his actions. As for me, thanks to Melissa's help, I was able to return to work. It was tough adjusting to work after such a long break, but I realized that I still enjoyed working.
Hey, how about I introduce you to one of my male friends sometime?
Melissa, who was having lunch with me, suddenly said. I was surprised but politely declined. I want to enjoy my single life for a while. Being on my own and free is amazing. Melissa smiled kindly. For now, I thought it was a good idea to focus on my job.